Welcome back to the channel, to the middle-aged man with borderline personality disorder. When I look at the times where I've felt worst in recent years, when I got really obsessed with my then girlfriend, just constantly thinking about her, she often correctly pointed out that I had too much time on my hand. I did, mostly being unemployed or not doing something in general. I did have a lot of time on my hand. It's not the entire truth, but having a lot of time to contemplate things is often regarded as something good. But in the case of being an introverted borderline personality disorder person, that is not the case. Because my mind will continuously drop into this loop of trying to fix a problem in my mind, find a solution, understand why a girlfriend acts the way she does, and then dreaming about 1,000 scenarios, all of them really, really bad. And then in the end, creating the problem I'm trying to avoid by me being paranoid, jealous, and all those things. So, here's what I've understood about this. Distractions, or just being busy, is very good. Happy distractions are really good. Happy distractions mean you have very little time to think about stupid things. Now, I know this is a simplified way of describing everything. The best way is not having a reason for these thoughts at all. But let's say we have them and our mind starts to drift. It is not easy to just rationalize your way out of this. I've already mentioned this in another video, but you're not in control really. This emotional idiot takes over the ship, and you have a mutiny on your hand, and the rational captain is at least temporarily thrown down into a brig, while the idiots steer the ship. So, one way of avoiding this situation is definitely being distracted, thinking about things, doing things. And one thing that seems to take up a lot of, how should I put it, cognitive processing power, which eliminates the possibility for the brain to do a lot of wandering off into borderline territory. That is being creative, for example. I've noticed this so many times when I felt really bad. If I managed to break out of it, go into this better part of myself. One way of holding on to this was being creative. That is basically why I've done this channel. I'm hoping this channel will be a creative outlet for me, not only reaching out and discussing this with other people, but just doing something that ventilates things and allows me to try out things. Yeah. Being creative is listed as an important part of the therapy, and you can't really force this, but the interesting part is that a lot of borderline personality disorder people report being quite creative, being naturally this, because it is the way for our brain to handle things. It is a way to heal ourselves through creative outlets. And I'm pretty sure if you look at history, a vast amount of creative people are probably suffering from borderline. They are probably taking the path to feeling better by doing whatever creative thing they like to do. I'm not saying everyone is this in this way, but if I just guess, in the same way I think a lot of people are underdiagnosed with this, and are probably diagnosed with, let's call them just trash diagnose, like depression. I don't like that diagnosis very much. It just feels like if a doctor can't really figure out what's wrong, he would just say depression and then leave it at that. And depression is almost always present when you talk about creative people throughout history. So I think a lot of these creative people, for sure, actually suffered from borderline personality disorder. For sure. I'm 100% certain about this. So, what to do about this? Well, one thing's for sure, if you do suffer from borderline personality disorder and you feel an urge to do creative things, even if they are just, well, I shouldn't rant about what you do. That's not very nice of me. Well, when I say creative, people probably assume being a painter or a musician or something like that. I think if you just like doing things in the kitchen, if you like creating practical things, working with your collection of stamps or whatnot, I don't know. There are thousands of hobbies out there that are creative in some ways. Hello. And it is so important that you give in to this urge, because this urge is important. And if you live in a life where people can't understand this need, you need to change your life. Otherwise, you are screwed, basically. One way, of course, is living a life where borderline isn't present, where everything is happy. And happy people tend to not be very creative, and not in that way at least. They don't write poems that history remembers forever and so on. I don't think so. I think you need a bit of a darkness in your life to write the most beautiful things. I'm certain of it. So, be creative. Creativity is your friend. And people not understanding this are not, regardless of what they think. So, of course, you shouldn't start with kicking them out of your life. As a borderline personality disorder, I know very well we are not the one who breaks up with others. That's what they do with us. But you should at least introduce them to how your condition works. And if you don't have a diagnosed condition, get it. Because people listen a lot more to you about your needs when you have it documented. That's for sure. No question about that. But if they still don't listen after you explain to them how these things work, show them the science, show them what the experts say, then you should really, really reconsider what and how you want them to be in your life. Now, if these are family, I know very well you can't just maybe kick them away, and there's probably some way you can still enjoy life with them. But no, in most parts, you should really try to find a new way, as you should with if you're living in a toxic relationship or whatever. Sooner or later it has to end. I lived in a very toxic relationship, but more about that in another video, because it's not always as simple as a toxic relationship being something, you know, a cliche evil thing. Sometimes it is a lot more complicated than that. Well, have a good one, folks. It's been another video from your middle-aged man.